Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles.
My name is Raymond Griffin, and I'm 36 years old. I have a degree in engineering, but years ago, I decided to follow my passion and opened a motorcycle repair and customization business. I'm not rich, but I do all right. I'll never have everything I want, but I'm content with what I need. I pride myself on being a loyal and trustworthy friend, and I wouldn't want to be my enemy. I've got a side to me that I'm not proud of, a mean streak I never fully understood until my time in the service. But my wife, Renee, has always brought out the gentler side of me. I could never imagine directing that darker side toward her. I've always believed a man's word should be his bond, that actions speak louder than words, and that you should treat others the way you want to be treated. Renee is my wife. She's the cousin of my best friend, Charlie. We grew up together in a tough neighborhood, but we made it through and built a life for ourselves. Renee and I have been married for 9 years, and we have a 6-year-old son, Jake. She's beautiful, stubborn, and full of energy, while I'm more laid-back and easygoing. Our different personalities have balanced each other out over the years. She could make friends anywhere, while I've always been content with just a few close ones. Most of the time, I didn't need more than her. I love her more than I can put into words, and seeing her happy is what gives me the most joy. It's also made her both my strength and my weakness. Coming home to her every day is what I live for. The issues in our marriage began when Renee made a new friend, Linda, who had recently gone through a divorce. Linda and her boyfriend, Alistair, had just moved into the neighborhood. When I first met Alistair, he gave me an unsettling vibe. His eyes were cold, and I felt uncomfortable around him, as if he had a hidden agenda. He didn't seem to have a job, but always drove an expensive car and appeared to have money, which raised some red flags for me. I tried to warn Renee about him, but she didn't see the same issues I did. Despite my concerns, Renee insisted on inviting them over for a barbecue. I tend to avoid controlling situations like this, as I've always respected her judgment and trusted her to make her own decisions about friends. Linda and Alistair, however, felt different to me. I'd occasionally take long lunches at home just to enjoy some private time with Renee while our son, Jake, was at school. We'd often take full advantage of our time together, like we were still in the honeymoon phase of our relationship. Our intimacy was a constant, and I found myself unable to keep my hands off her, even after all these years. She had gained a bit of weight since we first got married, but to me, it only made her more attractive. Renee had been struggling ever since her miscarriage 3 months ago. She wasn't open about her pain, refusing to see a doctor about her depression. It was a difficult time for both of us, and I tried my best to stay strong for the both of us, but nothing seemed to help. I kept waiting for her to open up to me, as communication had always been the foundation of our marriage. But now, she barely spoke to me at all. I tried not to feel resentful, though it was hard when I saw that she had no trouble talking to Linda. One day, I decided to bring home a yellow rose, something I had done for her since our first date. It had always been a small gesture, but it meant a lot to her. The rose was my way of reminding her how much I cherished her. But when I got home, she wasn't there. That wasn't like her. She usually made sure to run any errands after 1 o'clock, so she wouldn't miss me if I came home for lunch. Her usual routine had been disrupted, and that left me feeling uneasy. I stood there, holding the rose, my instincts telling me something was wrong. The knot in my stomach grew tighter. I began to suspect that Linda was involved somehow, that her presence might be affecting Renee's attitude and behavior. After a long, tense afternoon at the shop, I called Renee's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. The feeling that something was off only intensified. As I made my way home, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. We needed to talk. I couldn't just stand by and watch my marriage fall apart. When I pulled my bike into the garage, I instinctively touched the hood of Renee's car. It was still warm. She hadn't been home for long. When Renee saw me, she had a distant, almost vacant look in her eyes. I'd noticed it more and more lately. "Hi, honey," she said, her voice lacking its usual warmth. "Renee, sit down. We need to talk," I said firmly. "And where's Jake?" "He's at your mom's. I asked her to pick him up after school. Why didn't you pick him up yourself? What was so important that you couldn't do that?" "Can it wait, honey? I still need to get dinner ready," she replied, her voice tinged with nervousness. "No, it can't wait. What I have to say is important. Now sit down and answer me," I insisted. She sat on the edge of the couch, her eyes cautious. "What's wrong, Raymond? You seem upset. Where were you at lunch today? Did you notice the yellow rose on the table? And why didn't you answer your phone?" I asked, my frustration rising. "I had a few errands to run. I guess I forgot my phone. What's the big deal?" "Yes, I saw the rose. I just haven't had a chance to put it in water yet. I'm sorry I missed you today, she said, but I could see the lie in her eyes. Renee, you're lying to me, I said, my tone sharp. You're not good at this. Now, tell me the truth. Were you with Linda this afternoon? I know you just got home. What were you doing all day? She couldn't meet my gaze, and it felt like I was talking to a stranger. My anger mixed with fear, knowing my life was shifting in ways I didn't understand. You don't trust me? She asked, almost pleading. I don't trust Linda and Alistair, I replied. I've told you that before. I'm sorry, Raymond, she said, her voice soft. Yes, I was with Linda. I didn't want to tell you because I know you don't like her. But she's my friend, and she understands me. I think she's using you, I replied, frustration building. I'm not sure what she's after, but I can tell you it's not going to be good for either of us. I've seen her type before. Raymond, that's not fair. She's really not a bad person, Renee insisted. I trust my instincts, I said, my voice firm. They've never steered me wrong. Well, since it seems like you'll just accuse me of lying no matter what, my trust in you has been deeply shaken, I continued. She's not your friend. There's something wrong with her. Was Alistair there too? Don't lie to me again. Yes, she answered softly. Yes, what? I felt my blood start to boil. He was there too, she muttered, her eyes fixed on the floor. What were you doing there all day? I drank some wine, we talked, and played some cards. That's all we did. Honey, I swear, she said, but I could see the discomfort in her. How many afternoons have you spent there? I pressed, sensing she was avoiding the truth. I don't know. A few, she replied, clearly uncomfortable, but I suspected it was more than just a few. Since you met her, you've been acting different. I don't even know who you are anymore. I know you've been struggling, but please, let me help. You've been distant, and it's affecting Jake and me. You're spending all this time with her, and it's hurting us. You're smart enough to see that, Renee. If you still care about our marriage, you have to listen to me. Please, respect how I feel about this. She stiffened, and I could feel the tension building in the room. There was a flicker of anger in her eyes, but also something else, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. I don't need any help, Raymond, she said, her voice defensive. She told me you might say something like this. I've been bored. I get lonely sitting around here all day. You never wanted me to work, and you never want to go anywhere. I need some excitement in my life. You just want to control me. I'm getting older, and it feels like life is passing me by. I thought you were happy with your life, I said, my tone softening. Apparently, I was wrong. If it's excitement you're after, I'll try anything, just as long as it doesn't involve a third person. I'm trying to protect you and our marriage. You're being controlled, but it's not by me. It sounds like you've been listening to the wrong influences. I know I can be a bit predictable, but you're all the excitement I need. I work hard to support us, but if a job will make you happy, then go for it. I'll support whatever makes you happy. If you want me to take you out more, all you had to do was ask. I love seeing you dressed up, and I'm always proud to show off my beautiful, sexy wife to the world. I'm not your property, Raymond. It's my life. I can choose my own friends. I don't belong to you, she retorted, her voice sharp. What? I said, stunned. She acted as if she hadn't heard a word I said. Her response felt rehearsed, as if it had been planted in her mind long before. Since the moment I asked your father for your hand in marriage, I've been your man. When you married me, you became my wife, not just any wife. We belong to each other, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others. Do you remember those vows, Renee? You've always been an amazing wife and mother, so what's going on with you now? You know I'd step in front of a bullet for you. I love you, and I need you to understand that. I've never told you what to do, but right now, I'm telling you, stay away from her. Now, go pick up our son. I'm stepping out for a while. Think about this while I'm gone. When I return, I expect you to have figured things out. I won't tolerate any more disrespect. I needed to clear my head, so I went for a long ride on my bike. It usually helped me feel better, but this time, it only seemed to carry the weight of a looming storm. When I returned home, Renee had dinner ready, but she was unusually quiet, and we ate in silence. Jake, sensing something was off, looked at her. What's the matter, Mommy? You look sad, he asked, his innocent words tugging at my heart. I'm fine, Jake. Mommy's just a little tired. I just need some rest, that's all. Don't worry, she said, forcing a smile. Okay, Mommy. Daddy said we can go to the big park on Saturday. I like that park. We can have fun and go swimming. That will be nice, Jake, Renee replied, her tone lacking its usual enthusiasm. After dinner, she retreated to our bedroom. I stayed up with Jake, watching Monsters Incorporated for the 21st time, then read him 5 of his favorite stories before he finally drifted off to sleep. When I entered our bedroom, Renee was lying on the bed in my favorite sexy lingerie. I hadn't seen it in a long time. Despite the tension I was feeling, my desire for her was immediate. I needed her, and I wanted to show her just how much. She gazed at me, her eyes filled with passion. But there was something else, a sadness, perhaps. I felt the need to hold her, to love her, and to wipe away whatever was causing her pain. Without hesitation, I undressed and joined her in bed. We made love, but then I felt her tears against my cheek. "What's the matter, honey? Did I hurt you?" I asked, my voice filled with confusion. "No, my love, you didn't hurt me," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Forgive me, please. I love you so much. I love you too, honey. More than you know," I said, unsure of what she was really apologizing for, but knowing it wasn't the time to ask. We'd have time for that later. I held her close, wanting her to feel safe and protected, and soon, we both drifted into a deep sleep. The next morning, I woke up feeling full of love for the woman next to me, but her plea for forgiveness was gnawing at me. I didn't fully understand what she meant. Was there something she hadn't told me? Other than lying to me, what had she done? That question lingered in my mind, a bad sign, but it wasn't something I could face right then. I needed to talk to someone. So, after work the next day, I went to see my buddy, Charlie. He was always there for me, ready to listen, and I needed his perspective. I could feel the weight of everything pressing down on me. The cloud of doom still hung over me like a thick fog. Charlie greeted me with his usual energy. "Raymond, how the hell are you, buddy? Long time no see. Come on in. Have a seat. You want a beer?" "I've got some on ice," he said, his smile wide as always. "You look like your dog died," he added, reading my mood instantly. "What's up?" "Yeah, a beer would be good," I muttered, sinking into the chair. Before I could open up to Charlie, his wife, Dorothy, and her sister, Kathleen, walked in, both flashing warm smiles. They looked like twins, even though they were 2 years apart. With their big green eyes, flawless skin, and long hair that cascaded down to their shoulders, they were both stunning. Their figures were the kind of thing men only dreamed about. Charlie was definitely a lucky guy. I'd known both women for years, and I could never quite figure out why Kathleen wasn't married. She was smart, kind, and incredibly sexy. If I weren't already married to Renee, Kathleen would have been high on my list. "Hey ladies, it's good to see you both," I said, giving them each a hug and a kiss on the cheek. "Raymond, we don't see you and Renee enough. Are you guys hiding from us?" Dorothy teased. But then she noticed the smile that had faded from my face when she mentioned Renee. "Are you two doing okay? I saw your face when I said her name. I hope you don't mind me asking. We care about you both a lot. If there's anything we can do to help, you know where to find us." Her concern caught me off guard. I wasn't in the mood for pleasantries, but Dorothy's caring tone made me feel like I could share. "Actually, I came here to talk to Charlie, but since you and Kathleen are here, maybe you can offer some insight. You two seem to understand women far better than Charlie and I. Things at home aren't going well," I admitted, finally resigning to spill the beans. The two women settled onto the love seat across from Charlie and me, their eyes curious and attentive. I let out a deep breath and began to share the mess that had become my life. "It comes down to this," I began, struggling to find the words. "Renee's been spending a lot of time with our new neighbors, Linda and Alistair, and lately, she's been acting like she's losing her mind. One minute she's warm and loving, and the next, she's a completely different person. She's been distant, moody, like I don't even know who she is anymore. I've noticed this glazed look in her eyes, like she's high on something. And the thing is, Renee's never been into drinking, and she's always been against using drugs. She's been lying to me about where she's going, what she's doing. I know Linda's involved in this somehow. Renee told me I don't own her, that she's bored with me, that I'm controlling her, among other things. She cries for no reason I can understand. Ever since her miscarriage, she hasn't been the same, and she won't accept help from me or anyone. It's like these neighbors have cast some kind of spell on her. But I know she loves me. I can feel it, but I just can't make sense of what's happening. I don't know what to do anymore." I trailed off, the weight of it all pressing down on me. My pain, frustration, anger, and anxiety felt too much to carry, so I hung my head. The room fell silent as they absorbed what I had just shared. No one knew what to say. Dorothy and Kathleen exchanged glances, their faces filled with sympathy. Damn, bro. Charlie finally broke the silence, his voice thick with disbelief. This doesn't sound like Renee at all. I don't even know where to start. Something's seriously off here. I can't imagine her cheating on you, man. This is so out of character for her. None of this makes any sense. I wish I could find a man who treats me the way you've always treated her, Kathleen said, her voice tinged with a quiet longing. I've always been a little jealous of your marriage. I know there's nothing you wouldn't do for her. She's very foolish to not protect what she has with you. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I wasn't sure how to respond, but it was clear Kathleen's feelings for me went beyond friendship. Dorothy, noticing the tension, leaned in with genuine concern. Do you want me to talk to her, Raymond? We've always been pretty close. Do you think it would help? I sighed, not feeling confident that Renee would open up to anyone, especially not at this point. I don't think so, Dorothy. You could try, but I'm not sure it'll make a difference. Kathleen wasn't finished, though. It's obvious to me that these people she's been hanging out with aren't good for her, she said, her voice firm. What do you know about them? I leaned back in my chair, feeling the frustration boiling up again. Not much. They moved into the neighborhood about 3 months ago. I don't trust either of them. They give me the creeps. Linda gets all in my face every time I see her, flirting right in front of Renee. She acts like a total 304, and her boyfriend, Alistair, is a piece of slime. He reminds me of a vulture. Honestly, it'd be hard to find worse company. I don't understand why Renee's involved with them at all. I have this feeling they're into swapping mates, and I don't share my woman. The thought of it makes me sick. Renee knows that. I paused for a moment, then added, Dorothy, I need your brother to check this guy out. Can you get him to run a background on Linda and Alistair? He's a detective, right? He can get the info fast. Dorothy nodded, understanding the urgency. Sure, Raymond. He'd be glad to help you. Is there anything else you need? I handed her the license plate number and their address. That should be enough for now. Thanks, Dorothy. We'll have the information for you soon, bro, Charlie said, his voice steady but serious. In the meantime, go home and stay close to Renee. Give her a hug from all of us. Don't worry, we've got your back. I felt a slight weight lift off my chest. Talking about everything helped, even just a little. At least now, I didn't feel so alone in this. The next morning, Charlie called. I could hear the gravity in his voice as soon as I picked up. It's not good, Raymond, he said, his tone grim. This guy's name is Ronald Brack. He's got a long rap sheet. He spent a good chunk of his life in prison. Drug distribution, aggravated robbery, larceny, felonious assault, pandering. A real piece of shit. Right now, he's on parole for carrying a concealed weapon. Linda's been arrested for prostitution and larceny, but some slick lawyer got her off. They're bad news, but Renee's gotten herself tangled up with some real bottom feeders. From what you've told me, I'm afraid Alistair is setting her up to be one of his hookers. He's probably been trying to corrupt her, if he hasn't already. I hope you love her enough to deal with this. She never had a chance against those two wolves. Go home and handle this, Raymond. And be careful when confronting Alistair. That guy's dangerous. He's got no conscience. I felt the rage burning in me, hot and fast. He's not as dangerous as me, I growled, my fists tightening. I'd love nothing more than to tear him apart. They'll regret ever stepping into my life. Believe that. The cold clarity of the situation was slowly seeping in, but it was hard to focus. The thought of Renee, my wife, the woman I loved, being touched by those scum, made my blood boil. The anger was so overwhelming, I could barely think straight. I knew I had to act, but I was too consumed with fury to think things through properly. I rushed home to find that Renee was not there. I knew where she was. I loaded my semi-automatic Colt .45, took off the safety, put it in the small of my back, and headed for Linda's house. Renee's car was in the driveway. I slipped in through an open patio door. When I reached their bedroom, my heart stopped. I stood stunned as I saw my loving wife having sex with Alistair. The room was smelly, and there was a pile of white powder on the nearby dresser. Time stood still as my heart broke into a million pieces. I felt disgust for the only woman I had ever loved and rage at the two people who had destroyed my world. Eventually, they realized I was there. Renee shrieked and started crying while Alistair smiled at me. Don't stop on my account. She's your now, damaged goods. I growled, looking at Renee, who was crying and desperately trying to cover herself. She's been mine for a while now, Raymond, old boy. Put away your ego and go with it. Feel free to take Linda over here. You piece of trash. I wouldn't touch your diseased hooker with a stick. I hope you. Your hooker and my ex-wife rot in hell. No, Raymond, they made me do it. I foolishly had sex with Linda. I didn't know Alistair recorded the whole thing. He said if I didn't let them continue to use me that they would tell you. I didn't know what to do. I'm so sorry, Raymond. Please, don't hate me, please. Begged Renee. She's mine now, Raymond. You might as well take me up on my offer. Like you said, she's damaged goods now. Before he could react, I was already striking him hard, delivering blow after blow to his face. His jaw shattered, and I followed up with a punishing attack to his midsection before driving my knee into his groin. He crumpled to the floor, groaning in pain. As I turned to leave, he pulled a gun and pointed it at me. I heard Renee scream, "No," as she tried to stop him, but he jerked away from her and shot her in the chest. That moment gave me just enough time to grab my .45 and put a bullet through his head. The force of the shot splattered brains and blood across Linda, who was standing behind him. She screamed in horror, frantically trying to clean the mess off of her. I rushed to Renee, but it was too late. The bullet had pierced her heart. I cradled her head in my arms, tears streaming down my face as I mourned the loss of my wife. Renee, what have you done? What have you done? When the police arrived, they arrested Linda for possession of narcotics with intent to sell and clear me of all charges. As I stood over my wife's coffin, I was filled with confusion. She had betrayed my trust and the vows we made, yet she had given her life to save mine. Despite everything, I would miss her. My love for her hadn't died with her. It was tangled up with the hatred for what she had done. After the funeral, Kathleen took my arm, saying, "Jake is with your mother, Raymond. Come home with me. You shouldn't be alone now. I know what you need. Let me help you." That day, a new chapter of my life began. After the funeral, Raymond struggled with the weight of his grief, torn between the love he had for Renee and the anger he felt for her betrayal. For weeks, he kept to himself, reflecting on everything that had happened, wrestling with the anger and sadness that often kept him up at night. Kathleen, though, never left his side. She understood his pain in a way no one else could. Having always been a supportive friend, she now stepped in as a quiet source of comfort. She didn't push him, but always made sure he knew she was there. Whether it was bringing him dinner, sitting in silence as he vented, or simply taking Jake off his hands for a while so he could have some space to think. Over time, Raymond began to realize that Kathleen wasn't just offering him a shoulder to lean on. She was offering him something more, someone who truly understood him. Her strength, kindness, and unwavering support started to chip away at the walls he'd built around his heart. They spent more time together, and Raymond saw a different side to Kathleen. She had always been tough and independent, but now there was an undeniable softness about her that pulled him in. As the days passed, Raymond began to feel something stirring inside him, a kind of hope he hadn't felt in a long time. He had started to heal, and he realized it was because of Kathleen. Months later, Raymond took her hand one evening as they stood by the lake, watching the sunset. "Kathleen, I don't know what I'd have done without you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved me, and I can't imagine my life without you anymore. Will you marry me?" Kathleen smiled softly, her eyes glistening with tears, and nodded. "Yes, Raymond, I will." Their wedding was a quiet affair, just close friends and family, a ceremony filled with love, healing, and the promise of a future together. Raymond had found his way back from the darkness, and now, with Kathleen by his side, he was ready to move forward. They built a life together, with Jake growing up in a home filled with love, laughter, and the unshakable bond they had formed. Despite the tragic past that brought them together, Raymond knew that the love he shared with Kathleen was one born out of strength, resilience, and a deep understanding of each other's wounds. It wasn't the love he had expected to find, but it was real, and it was everything he needed. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.